The US is currently experiencing some crazy weather. Droughts, blizzards, storms, tornadoes, you name it, we're getting it. Let's have a look at wind speed and how it's playing out across the US. For March 17th, 2026, maximum gust speeds are highest from the eastern Great Lakes through New York and New England, where gusts are broadly reaching the upper 30s to upper 50s in miles per hour. A second, smaller, windier zone is in parts of Montana and Wyoming. The departure map adds an important detail. The Northeast is not just windy today, it's markedly windier than normal, while much of the interior West, Southwest, and Southern Plains, lower Mississippi Valley, are running below normal in terms of gustiness. This is a look at maximum gust speed and gust speed departure across the continuous US for today, which is March 17th, 2026. We're looking at the strongest bursts of wind, kind of where they're expected, and where those winds are unusually strong or unusually weak for mid-March. US is experiencing some crazy weather patterns at the moment, so I wanted to look at wind speed today because I know a lot of places are having unusually high winds. Let's have a quick look at the metrics first. As always, the first map shows maximum wind gust in miles per hour. This is the strongest brief burst of wind that is expected during the day. It's not average or sustained wind speed. This distinction matters. A location can have a sustained wind speed of around 15 to 20 miles per hour, but its gusts can be way higher, 35 to 40. Those gusts are kind of what people tend to feel most directly. They affect, driving on exposed roads, tree movement, aviation operations, marine conditions, and kind of the rate at which the atmosphere mixes near the surface. Just to clarify, we're not looking at tornadoes today. Obviously, tornadoes have much higher wind speed than this. We're looking at generic maximum gust wind speed. The second map shows gust speed departure. This tells you how today compares to the normal for this time of year. For example, if a place usually gets a peak gust around 20 miles per hour for mid-March, but today that forecast is gusts to 35 miles per hour, then the area is running about 15 miles per hour above normal. So the departure map is not raw wind speed by itself, it's anomalous winds. It's kind of the difference from that normal. This context is really useful because a 35 mile an hour gust can mean very different things for different regions and different places. In some places, that's routine for March. In others, this is a noticeable departure from normal. This time of year really matters because March, features strong baryoclinic zones, active storm tracks, rapid pressure changes. Gust anomalies can affect fire spreading, fields drying, evapotranspiration, early season planting, and stress on trees and infrastructure. With a huge amount of weather stories going on in the US at the moment, this one can be actually really influential rather than the blizzards and storms and heat waves that we're seeing elsewhere. On the gust speed map, the dominant feature is a northeast focused wind corridor rather than a kind of a broad eastern US wind event. The strongest gusts are concentrated from the eastern Great Lakes across upstate New York and into New England, with many areas in that upper 30s to 40s with some localized pockets in the 50 mile per hour zone. Really strong, unbelievably so for March. Outside of that core, much of the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic is breezy but less intense, kind of generally in the 20s to 30s. The Southeast is more mixed with some broad, moderate gusts rather than a kind of a true high wind zone. The West is much quieter today. They're dealing with their own problems. California through Nevada, Utah, Arizona, much of New Mexico, kind of where these areas are sitting in the low teens to upper teens, some 20s mixed in too. There's an important exception here. Parts of Montana and Wyoming are kind of their separate little pocket here of stronger gusts, some pushing into the 30s and 40s, with some locally higher. The map is not simply west is calm, east windy. It's more complex than that. We're seeing a northeast maximum, wind across the Rockies area as that second maximum, then kind of modest winds elsewhere, but still, not dead winds. We're seeing gusts pretty much everywhere. Let's give a more regional breakdown for this gust speed map. So, starting in the Pacific Northwest, winds are fairly subdued overall. Washington and Oregon have some coastal or terrain related enhancement, but much of the region is kind of staying in that teens to low 20s, which is pretty normal, I feel. California is kind of similar, with some generally modest gusts from the coast into the interior, low to mid teens, some in the upper teens, generally below normal gust speed for southwest US. Across the Great Basin, desert southwest, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, it's still on the lighter side, some scattered areas in those kind of upper teens to low 20s. Not especially windy setup for this region. First real kind of uptick here shows in the northern Rockies, adjacent kind of high plains area, Montana. It kind of really stands out. I'm not sure why we're getting high gusts in this location, especially, but we're seeing them climb into that kind of 30s to 40s. Wyoming also has a more of an active pocket, stronger winds spilling across the exposed terrain, kind of nearby plains. Colorado, mixed conditions with some localized stronger areas. This is like a terrain gradient enhanced zone rather than that kind of broad regional windshield. Moving east into the plains, gusts are more moderate overall. The Dakotas, Nebraska, kind of Kansas, Oklahoma sit in the 20s with some lower and higher pockets. Some movement there, but not kind of a dominant national maximum. Across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, this is where we're starting to see an increase in gust speed, especially kind of the lakes in the far east. Michigan is definitely one of the more active states in this belt, kind of broad 30s to 40s plus readings, especially near the shores and into the northern section. Wisconsin and Montana are breezy, though kind of generally a tear down from that northeast core. They're obviously dealing with some heavy snowfall at the moment. Into the northeast, the wind field becomes the most kind of impressive on the map. Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut, they're all sitting within this high wind speed zone, higher, stronger gusts. Interior areas are broadly in the upper 30s to 40s. Some parts of coastal and eastern New England are pushing into the 50s. Clearly, this is where that national maximum is for the day. Mid-Atlantic, including Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, New Jersey, breezy but less intense than that New England region, mostly in the upper 20s to 30s. And then we move into the south areas, Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, generally lighter, kind of low 20s. And then Florida also slightly moderate in the 20s. Rather than anything unusually strong. No hurricanes rolling through Florida today, thank goodness. Moving on to the departure map, this is where the structure sharpens. The largest positive anomalies are centered from the Great Lakes into the northeast, especially New York and New England, where gusts are well above normal for mid-March. There's also a positive anomaly in parts of Montana and Wyoming, as we discussed earlier, slightly higher than normal. Nearby high plains terrain is kind of matching that secondary gust maximum. In contrast, though, much of the interior west and southwest and south central US is below normal for today. Includes broad negative anomalies across California, Great Basin, New Mexico, West Texas, southern plains. They're all well below normal. It said the gust speed today is relatively calm compared to what they normally see for mid-March. Nationally, the standout anomaly is not a coast-to-coast wind event. This is not, blanket high wind speeds across the entire US. It's focused or concentrated on the northeast. These anomalies are way higher than normal, and it's extremely windy across the northeast today. There are some other regional areas, as we discussed, kind of Rockies, but they're nothing to write home about compared to the Northeast today. Let's give a quick regional breakdown for this departure map. West, as I said, dominated by negative anomalies. California, Oregon, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, up into parts of Idaho and Colorado are all running kind of well below normal today. Several kind of interior pockets, especially across the Great Basin and Southwest. Negative departures are fairly pronounced. For the people living there, it must feel a little calmer than usual today for sure. The northern Rockies are different. Montana and parts of Wyoming are showing this kind of clear positive signal. Higher winds there for them today for sure. That confirms our kind of raw gust map that we're seeing in a few western areas are windy and they're elevated compared to what they normally have. Across the Central Plains and Midwest, the anomalies are mixed. Parts of the Dakotas, nearby northern tier are sort of modestly above normal, while there's broad zones from kind of Iowa to Missouri, parts of Illinois, Arkansas that are leaning below normal, but nothing to kind of write home about. Central US isn't really carrying any of this coherent high anomaly wind speed. The Great Lakes region, it turns positive again, especially around Lake Superior, Michigan further east, and then the strongest departures start to expand dramatically from central New York into New England. This is where that anomaly core is on the map. Large parts of New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, well above normal with some of the strongest positive departures anywhere in the country. Mid-Atlantic, generally above normal too, though not as extreme as New England. While the Southeast, again, is more mixed. Carolinas, Virginia, parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, leaning moderately positive. But the Deep South, parts of the Gulf Coast are kind of near normal to somewhat below normal. Again, this isn't the focus of the story. The focus is on that Northeast where we have those high anomalies and high gust speeds for today. So let's have a brief discussion on the kind of the context and implications of what we've been seeing in these maps. I think the pattern matters the most because it's strongest and most anomalous. Winds line up with regions where transportation, aviation, and marine activity are most sensitive. The Northeast, obviously, there's a huge amount of air traffic. There's an extremely high population in the Northeast. We're going to see stronger problems related to higher wind speeds in this area than we would do if we were focused on, the Northern Plains or somewhere like that. Stronger gusts can create tougher driving conditions on exposed roads, turbulence, rougher waters, and put a strain on local infrastructure. The idea of trees being pushed over across power lines and things like that. In the northern Rockies, the locally stronger winds may affect exposed terrain, kind of travel corridors, but I don't think that's going to be as impactful as it's going to be on the Northeast. Meanwhile, kind of the below normal gustiness across much of the west and south central US, could have an impact on energy demand here, decreased cooling, decreased wind energy production, and other renewable energy sources like that are typical kind of for mid-March. If you like these videos and you want to see more, please like and subscribe to the Weather Mapping YouTube channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Laters.
Weathermapping.com